Hey, good morning, everyone. It is Saturday, March 29th, 2025, and I'm officially 6 weeks post-op. I wanted to give you all a fairly comprehensive update on sort of where I am and what's coming up next. I saw my surgeon this week, what he talked to me about, where I am in PT, and what I'm thinking about the second surgery. All right, so let's start off with where I am. The really good part is I've made a ton of progress over the last 2 weeks. I talked about this at week 4. That between week 3 and week 4, it felt like I was really starting to turn a corner. The last 2 weeks have been again night and day. At 6 weeks, I am nowhere near like anywhere near fully recovered, but I'm walking around totally fine without a cane, without crutches. I feel very mobile. My extension is getting closer. I'm still, especially in the morning and like during the day, if I haven't been stretching, I'm kind of stuck at about 5 to 10 degrees of extension. My flexion has gotten pretty good. A lot better. It's at about 110 when I'm just doing it myself. And in PT, yesterday he was actually able to get me to about -2 or -3 on the extension, which is awesome. And we were able to get all the way to 125, which is right where we were supposed to be at 6 weeks. So earlier this week, I had the 6 weeks check-in with my surgeon, Dr. Bonner, and overall he was pretty happy with where I was. What he basically said was two things. One, he really, really wants me to continue to focus on the flexion and the extension. He was like, look, we're pretty aggressive here. I would love to be seeing you not at like 100, 110, but at 120 naturally. And you should now be starting to think about over the next few weeks, pushing it to 130, 135. So work with your PT, tell him, anything's fair game at this point. You're at 6 weeks. You can start doing strengthening. You can get more aggressive with both flexion and extension. No limitations. Just follow his guidance and go as aggressive as you want. The other thing that he did was back at my 2 week checkup when I was really, really struggling with my range of motion. He tried to get something called a statidine extension brace, it's like a extension flexion brace. I'll actually show it to you in a minute. He suggested that I get that and start using it to work on my flexion and extension. We had to get it through insurance. It took a while. Finally did get that approved this week and have just started using it. Later in this video, I'll actually show you how it works. It's a really cool device, and if you're having problems with flexion and or extension, I would recommend you ask your doctor about it. Without insurance, it was about $250 a month to rent. With insurance, it's only going to cost me about $50 to rent, and I'm hoping that over the next month, it really does help me kind of push through and get to that end range on both sides where I want to go. Okay, the other couple big things that happened this week. Went out and did my first real outdoor walk. I've got a high school right down the street, and I went and did one lap on the nice squishy track. Between getting to the parking lot, going around the track, took me about 20 minutes. I got done and I was really, really sore. I did wear my compression sock or my compression knee brace. Helped a little bit. I went out 2 days later, parked a little bit closer and did one lap again. And that one only took me about 15 minutes. And it still was sore by the time I got done, but it was a little bit better. I talked to Dr. Bonner and he said at this point, 6 weeks out, given where I am with strength, flexion, extension, that 15 to 20 minutes is about all he wants me doing, and maybe doing it every other day to give my leg a break. What he did clear me to start doing was on my bike, start using the stationary trainer with the power meter and actually adding some resistance. And so just this morning, I did my very first Zwift ride, which was great. It was only 15 minutes long. Anybody that's a cyclist, it's a thing called Volcano Flat. It's like 60 feet, so it's basically pancake flat, and I intentionally was keeping my wattage between like 50 and 80 watts. Again, if you're not a cyclist, that doesn't mean anything, but it's like very, very, very light resistance, but I was getting enough that I actually felt like I was like working my leg just a little bit, which was awesome. And I'm going to start doing that probably try to do that every day for about 15 minutes and eventually start moving that up to 20, 25, 30. He said the cycling is great. Again, no restrictions on it, indoors, on the trainer, don't overdo it, and the walking like every other day. At PT, where we are is we're now really starting to move into strengthening. And so Ken is moving me up and putting me through a whole bunch of exercises. I mean, between like really pushing on the extension, getting like a lot of the torsional movement going in the knee, and then from a strengthening standpoint, he's had me doing a lot of like balance stuff. So I'm on the balance board. He had me doing, if you've been in PT before, the ladders where you're like, walking on the ground and walking either in, out, or, back out, and doing very slowly, but kind of doing that and putting weight on different sides. He also put a belt around me yesterday, had me walk all the way forward, all the way backwards, do laps, pulling the weights up and down, as well as doing side steps going both directions. And so we're really trying to start getting a lot more weighted exercise onto the leg. On the reformer, we're going, starting to get the weights going up. So I'm doing single leg and double leg. We're doing kind of close, we're doing middle, we're doing out, I'm doing single legged. My PT sessions, by the time I get done with them, I am sore as hell, and I don't sleep very well at night. So that's all great stuff. The not so great stuff. Where I am right now is I am still not able to sleep at night very well. I'm still using my ice machine. What I'm doing is I'm turning it on the low setting, have it on my knee. I have been able to finally move over to sleeping on my side, putting pillows between my legs, and also another one so I can kind of brace my arm. But like last night, went to bed at about 9:30. I was able to sleep until about midnight. Woke up, was uncomfortable, moved around a little bit, took the brace off, took the ice off for just a little bit, put it back on, fell back to sleep about 12:30, fell asleep till about 4:30 in the morning, and then my knee was just completely aching because my NSAIDs had kind of worn off, and I was up for the day. And that's kind of typical for me right now. I'm still sleeping in these 3, 4, 5 hour chunks. About the latest I've been able to sleep in is 6:30 in the morning, even going to bed at 9 o'clock at night. And every couple days, I'm still finding myself middle of the afternoon, I'm just wiped, and I end up taking like a 20-minute nap. Sleep is really hard still. Talking to the doc and talking to Ken, my PT, they said probably about 12 weeks is when it'll start really making the next leap, and you'll start to feel a lot better. And it's going to really be like when you get much better range of motion, and so you can be in whatever your natural sleeping position's in. Okay, so the other big thing that we've been talking about is when I do my second surgery. Now, my initial thought when I went into all this, I had a fairly optimistic plan, and we said, do the first one in February, do the second one somewhere between 6 and 12 weeks later. And I sort of had mentally in my head, 8 to 10 weeks feels like probably the right amount. Now that I'm at 6 weeks, there is no way in hell I would even be thinking about doing this thing in another 2, 3, 4 weeks. Good news is we did go get the insurance done. And on my left knee, since there is damage in all 3 compartments, and I've had multiple MRIs over the last 10 years showing progression, they didn't fight us on this one. And so I've got approval to get the left knee replaced all the way through August. And so what I've done right now is I've set myself up on surgery schedule for the end of May, which gives me 8 weeks. I'm honestly, I was 50-50 before if I was going to do the end of April. I'm like 30% that I'd be able to do the end of May. Talking to Ken yesterday, his recommendation was like, don't rush into it. Same thing Dr. Bonner said. They're like, there is no real risk more to the left knee because since we're going to replace it, if I get a little more arthritis, do a little more damage to it over the next 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, it's going to be replaced anyways. So get the right one to the point where it is going to be the strong knee and I'm not having to think about it. And when I'm using it so much like I just did over the last 6 weeks with the left knee, it doesn't regress and start swelling and getting into problems now where I'm having to deal with both of them at the same time. So my thought is I'm going to see where I am at the end of April, potentially look at the end of May. And if it's not the end of May, I'm very likely just to kick it out all the way till August because we have some family stuff that's planned in June, July, and early August. I've also got a work trip to Europe that I wouldn't be able to do. 4th of July, we've got a little car camping trip. And so it's, kind of one of those 3 extra months actually live my life for a little bit versus get it done and start the clock going on the second surgery and the second recovery. So I'll keep you all updated as to where I'm going and how I'm thinking about that over the next couple of months. But again, that's sort of the update. Two other things I want to do. One, I'm going to turn this off. I'm going to just walk around, show you my mobility. You'll see it's actually really, really good. And then the second thing, I do want to show you that Statidine brace, what it is, how it works. So if you want to talk to your doctor about that, you'll have an understanding of it. And I'll put links to it in the video. All right, I'll be right back. All right, so from a mobility standpoint, as you can see, I'm now just able to walk very normally. First thing in the morning when I wake up, I am still super, super stiff and I have to kind of really think about it. But once I do my stretching, get some extension, get some flexion, doing normal walking, no brace, I'm not worried about anything. I can do, things like side steps. And again, I'm doing all this in PT and going this way. We're doing forward and backward walking. I'm doing heel to toe to start working on balance and everything else. So again, compared to, where I was even just 2 weeks ago with the mobility, it's literally night and day. And I feel like I've really, really turned a corner, and I'm expecting over the next 2 weeks and then 4 weeks, as I start ramping up on both the bike and the walking, this is going to keep even getting better, and then you'll just keep feeling better. Okay, last thing I want to do, let me turn this back off, get the brace on, show you what that is, and then that'll be it for the 6 week. All right, so this is the Statidine knee brace or exercise device. I'm not quite sure what you would call it. It's not really meant to be a brace. You just use it to do flexion and extension. The way that this works is, and you'll see how I put it on in a second, foot goes in the bottom, strap the Velcro around your thigh and around your shin, and then you've got let me see if you can see it. This little device just turns, and you got one that goes flexion, one that goes extension, and you just put it to the point where you're feeling a bit of a stretch. They say on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe about like a 3, where it's just stretching enough, and then you literally just let it sit for 30 minutes. And you do it twice a day. And so what I'm doing is 30 minutes twice a day. One day I'm doing extension, the next day I'm doing flexion, and they say that about halfway through, if it feels like you don't have enough, you can crank it up a little bit more. And if it's too much, you just crank it down a little bit less. And over time, what it's doing is it's very, very, very slowly getting all that tissue to kind of either expand or expand the other direction. All right, so let me see if I can get a picture of this down here so you can see it. Really easy to use. Foot just goes in there. Get this back over this way. Goes up on the thigh. You get the Velcro straps. They tend to want to stick together. One strap nice and tight on the top of the thigh. One right above the knee. This piece here, you move up as close as you can to the top, to your patella. You get this as tight as you can and in as much as you can, because this is really what's going to be using to straighten your leg. Tighten this guy on. And then one down at the ankle. So now what you do is, for extension, I come over here and I just start turning this guy. Hopefully you can see this. And I turn it until I start to feel a stretch. They say, the numbers aren't exact, but I've been able to, when I'm doing this, I've been usually doing it right now. I'll start it at like 5 degrees. Your ankle should be up and your knee should be off the ground. Basically put on a 30-minute timer and that's it. And I just kind of sit here and it just stretches me into full extension. It's a really nice device. I'm finding it's helping. They said that, within 2 or 3 weeks, I should feel a real difference. I've only had it now for like 4 days, but this last PT session, I did get more extension and more flexion than I'd gotten before. So far, so good. Okay, I'll check back in another week, let you all know how it's doing. And until then, have a good one.